Welcome back to Squawk on the Street here from Washington. Regulation is top of mind as leaders from around the globe convene for the World Bank and IMF spring meetings. Joining me now is one regulator, FTC Chair Andrew Ferguson. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for taking the time. I feel like everybody's trying, all the investors and businesses are trying to figure you out and just how different you are from former FTC Chair Lina Khan. How would you answer that?
I am different. Look, I want vigorous antitrust enforcement. Competition is what makes America great. It's how we innovate. It's how we grow. Monopoly is not good for innovation. How we protect against monopoly is antitrust. But I want clarity and I want certainty for businesses. I want businesses to know that when you send a deal to the FTC, we're going to look at it quickly in the timeline that Congress gave us. If we think it's illegal and we can win in court, we're going to go to court. And if we don't, we're getting out of the way as quickly as possible. Deal flow is part of how this country grows. It's how capital moves to innovators who have great ideas. M&A is part of how we have that capital flow. It's how we protect that capital flow. I am in favor of deal flow, but I'm in favor of antitrust enforcement too. So, I want to enforce the antitrust laws, but if they aren't being violated, we got to get out of the way.
You think she wasn't in favor of deal flow?
Look, I think that the previous administration generally was very suspicious of mergers and acquisitions, was very, very suspicious. I am not at all. I am pro-antitrust enforcement, and I am pro-innovation and growth, and we have to strike that balance, and that's what we're going to do.
I feel like investors got all excited about the deregulation, especially in places like the FTC, primarily. But then, the administration, the DOJ comes and blocks the HPE deal, and now you're in court with Meta to try to break them up, and they're wondering how much deregulation we're actually going to have.
Well, we're going to have lots of deregulation. The President issued an EO directing me and the FTC to lead the charge on getting rid of anti-competitive regulations. We've asked the public to tell us what the anti-competitive regulations are. We're going to be asking agency heads to give us all of their regulations they think are anti-competitive, and then we're sending a list to the White House recommending deletion of anti-competitive regulations. So we're all about deregulation, and we're all about following the rule of law and antitrust, and that's what the Meta case is about. If a deal is illegal, if someone is engaged in anti-competitive behavior and we can win in court, we're going to court, and that's what vigorous antitrust enforcement is about. But we want certainty and clarity, and that's what the deregulatory agenda is about.
You did take the first big enforcement action this week when you sued Uber, for one of its programs, basically, where you accused them of making customers pay for a certain service. They say they were totally transparent about it and are going to fight you in court. What was the message here?
We're very confident about the case. And look, like all Americans, it's the FTC's job is to meet consumers where they are. All of us are consumers, and we're all subscribers. All of us have tons of online subscriptions. Congress has passed laws protecting all of us when we are engaging with companies that have online subscriptions, both when we sign up and when we try to cancel. And if companies are breaking that law, it's called ROSCA, we're going to take them to court, and that's what the Uber case is about. This isn't, like a campaign or anything. If we think there are clear violations of this law that's designed to protect consumers when they are subscribers, which all of us are, we're ready to go to court, and that's what that's about.
I mean, interestingly, Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO, did contribute to President Trump's inaugural fund. Some CEOs saw that as a down payment to help protect them from regulation, potentially. I'm not saying that was necessarily the case, but what's your message there?
My message is that my job is to enforce the laws without fear or favor, and that's what I'm going to do. If we think someone is breaking the law and we can prove it in court, we're going to go to court. But otherwise, the FTC is part of the president's deregulatory agenda. And look, taking someone to court for breaking a law that Congress passed isn't regulation. That's just law enforcement. That's just cop on the beat type stuff. That's what the Uber case is about. That's what the Meta case is about. That's the mission of the FTC.
All right, so let's talk about the Meta case, because this is the second week now in court. How do you think it's going?
I think it's going great. Yeah, very confident.
For the government?
Yes.
Why? What do you think you are able to prove there?
I think that we're going to be able to prove that when Facebook acquired Instagram and WhatsApp, it did so to suppress competition in one of the markets that's most important to American consumers. All of us saw in 2020 how much power these platforms have, not just over our economic lives, over our social lives, our political discourse, our elections. All of us saw how powerful these companies are. That's what this case is about. It's about protecting Americans from the incredible market power of these companies and making sure that companies are competing with each other on the merits so we get innovation and growth.
I think the one thing that's puzzling businesses is the fact that you are relitigating deals that happened more than a decade ago, and that ultimately, if you do win, then that sets a really bad precedent and could create a lot of uncertainty that past deals are now going to be dug up potentially and ruled against.
Yeah, this is exceedingly rare. The agencies have done this before, but it is very rare. Meta is different. This is one of the most powerful companies on the planet, and we saw that power on full display in 2020. And that's why this litigation that President Trump began in his first term, we're seeing through to completion. Meta is different, and I think that's just a very simple reality.
2020, I mean